This is a 2005 Toyota Camry SE, and I've got a little problem with it. I've got a nasty oil leak from the valve cover, and I've been dealing with it for months. But today, we're going to fix it. This engine is a 2.4-liter four-cylinder with twin overhead cams. It has 170,000 miles on it, so we're due for a new valve cover gasket. Off camera, I've removed 2 rubber plugs on the plastic engine trim, and now I need to remove these 2 bolts to get access to the valve cover underneath. There we go. The valve cover looks good. Let's check the oil cap gasket, and it's fine. Let's put it back for now. This hose at the rear hooks to the PCV valve, so that's got to come off. This set of wires leads to the ignition coils, so we're going to disconnect these. And wait a minute, what happened? We broke the connector? Oh, man.
It was at this moment that he knew.
We'll deal with that later. Let's get the rest of these off of here. They just pull loose. Not a lot of force is needed. And we start removing the bolts that hold in each ignition coil. These coils, they sit in tubes above the spark plugs, and they directly connect to each plug. And we just pull up on each one, and they just slide right out. On the right side, we've got a wiring harness to disconnect, and a wiring harness on the left that we'll have to deal with pretty soon. These wires are going to be fun. At the rear, the same wires simply pull loose from the fuel rail, just like this. That should give us a little slack on the right side, but man, they refuse to tuck out of the way. Moving on to the valve cover bolts. In the front, looks like we've got 4 of these. And moving this wire out of the way, we can get to this rear corner bolt. Got one of these in the middle. And another one at the right rear corner. Man, Toyota loves to put wires right over these. Okay, we got 2 bolts in the center of the cover. Now, none of these bolts are very tight. You can see how little effort I need just to take them off of here. Oh, and I nearly forgot. We have another hose on the right front we have to detach. Okay. Now I'm very gently putting a flathead screwdriver in between the cover and the engine head. I'm giving a little twist to ease the cover loose, and it's not moving. Oh, God. I forgot a rear bolt. Okay, let's see what we can do with... Oh, that's much better. We're breaking it loose. Now to carefully slide by this wire bundle on the left. You can't pull hard on these wiring harnesses. It's really easy to cause a lot of electrical problems if you're just too rough with it. So we're just easing the valve cover around it and then trying to slide the right wiring harness out of the way. And there we go. Now we can have a good look into the engine head and our twin camshafts. The spark plug holes, they're clean, so we didn't have any leaks there. Now I'm going to try to get the gasket out in one piece. It's very brittle here, right where the leak was the worst. The rest seems to be nice and flexible, so I'm just peeling it loose, as that'll tell me if I have any other trouble spots. So far, so good. It just lifts away nice and easy. But this was supposed to be a one-piece gasket. I broke loose the middle sections off camera, and now I'm here pulling loose the gasket pieces from each spark plug hole. And then followed by the 2-bolt gaskets. Now I need to check if I dropped any pieces down into the engine head. We don't want any debris down in here because that'll drop down into the engine and block oil channels, and that's just not good. I think we're good. Whoa. Hold up. I realized I didn't warn you. I'm just a DIY guy, just like many of you, but I make these videos for entertainment. I'm not a professional mechanic. I've only ever done this kind of work on my own, so I make these videos to show you that almost anyone can do their own repairs for the most part. Do so at your own risk. Do your own work at your own risk. Okay, now that we got that out of the way. We start to clean up the surface of this engine. This is where we have to be very careful. You don't want to clean any gunk or debris into the engine, so I'm just cleaning to the outside edge and changing my cleaning cloth frequently. I'm using shop towels soaked in mineral spirits and then other towels soaked in brake cleaner on the tough spots. It's all about taking your time, especially in these tight spots around each of the wiring harnesses. And then after that, I'm using this plastic brush. See, it doesn't even hurt my gloves, so it's safe to use on the aluminum surface of the engine head without making any scratches. I'm just sweeping away any of the debris left. Again, taking time around these little tight spots and crannies here. Okay, we're looking pretty good, I think. Did you see the inside of the valve cover? Ugh, I cleaned that off camera because, well, that's boring. Now look at that. It's ready to go with a fresh gasket already in. The gasket instructions said to put a skim layer of RTV silicone onto the engine head before installing, so I'm carefully applying that now. I already did that off camera on the back of the engine head. Now to line it up and shove some wires out of the way. Finagle here, and it slides right into place. Perfect. Now to make sure I seated the gasket. I'm checking that I can see it on all sides to make certain it didn't slip out of the valve cover at the last second. You guys already saw me remove all these bolts, so we're going to put them back just a little bit faster for you. Faster than we took them out, at least. And now, the crucial info. How tight do we torque these bolts? Let's see, valve cover, 96 inch-pounds, but that's like 8 foot-pounds? Really? Does my torque wrench even go that low? Yeah, it actually does, but you barely even feel the click. I'm staggering the torque of each one of these. And then I'm going to slowly just go all around to make sure I've got them all. Now we put on the oil cap, freshly clean. A bolt for this wiring harness, no torque spec. We just snug it up. Adjusting this wiring bundle back down where it was. And snapping this wire back onto the fuel rail. Ignition coils right back in and setting these ignition wires into place. All these coils, they just drop in, and a slight bump just to connect the spark plug below. Each coil gets a bolt, and again, no torque spec, just until it's snug. This is an aluminum cover, so you gotta be careful. And these wires, they just slide back on. The little plastic tab broke off all of them, but these connect pretty tight. This hose for the PCV valve, it goes back on. And then the front hose, it reconnects with a little more effort. And now with the cover installed, we can wipe clean all the old oil from the leak. We do this so that if it develops a new leak, we can see it right away. Let's crank it. And after a 10-minute test drive, I'm back to check for leaks. So far, so good. The old gasket sprayed oil after a 2-minute drive, so this is looking pretty good. I think we got it. The plastic engine trim is ready to go back on with 2 plugs and 2 bolts. And we're done. On to the next project. Comment any DIY projects you might like to see. Stay tuned to see what we're up to next.